Coming up today on the Prosperity Nation podcast.
It is wrong. It's a wrong excuse for not being able to actually live a fulfilling life you love. It just comes back to, if you don't know what you care about, what you want money for, how do you know if your money's even broken? Welcome to the Prosperity Nation podcast. I'm Angie.
And I'm Elise.
Hey, we're glad you're here. Elise, we've got so much exciting things to talk about, as always, that we never can fit enough in. But before we jump right into our topic of the day today about fixing money, how was your weekend?
It was good. I actually have no idea what I did, to be honest.
I know. I kind of threw that right at you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It was pretty busy. I was out of town, but I'm back. So, yeah. How about you? How was yours?
Oh, my weekend was pretty good, too. Beautiful sunny weather here in San Francisco. And yes, San Francisco, you know, I had a piece of furniture, a chair delivered yesterday. And, it wasn't just like a dining room chair. It was like a huge round chair that did not fit in the elevator. And imagine San Francisco.
Yeah.
I live at the top of a very steep hill. And luckily, the delivery drivers can park their truck on this hill, but they still have to go up. I'm on the 6th floor. Thank goodness that's all. Because when I was in LA, I was on the 22nd floor, but the chair would not fit in the elevator. This is a huge round chair, and they had to carry it up the stairs. I felt kind of bad, but I had to wait like 2 weeks to get this chair. So I finally have a chair in my new place. I'm really glad for that.
Yeah, that's the worst when the elevators and the furniture doesn't fit.
So yeah, they were telling me this story about this guy who had, packed all his stuff in a U-Haul and arrived from New York and got here, and his couch wouldn't fit in the elevator. I was
boy.
like, hey, this is the downfalls of living in a push the maintenance button world. Now, I say that because I am the kind of lifestyle person that does not want to do yard work and doesn't want to paint a house and doesn't want to fix roofs. Like, I want to push the maintenance button when something goes wrong. So when I'm living in a high rise in the city, everything in my maintenance world is handled for me. Like, that's the number one criteria in looking for a place to be. That's how
funny,
good is their maintenance team.
I'm kind of the opposite. Like, I rent right now, but I love doing home projects, but I can't because I rent. So,
yeah,
someday.
Yeah, you got to do a mobile in your house, little potted indoor gardening instead of tearing up the yard.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's really great to kind of lead into our topic too, because we just want to talk about fixing money today. And I tell you what, everybody has their own idea of what that means. And, what your money, is that fixing your mindset? Is that fixing your actual income or your spending or your investing? And it can be all of those things for sure. But when it comes down to it, for me, it doesn't matter whatever your money situation is, as long as you have what we call lifestyle freedom, because lifestyle freedom is financial freedom. And it takes that whole idea of, I got to make millions of dollars before I can live a life I love, to no. You do with what you have right now and start living a life you love right now. And that's what we define prosperity as flourishing as a person and flourishing financially at the same time. So, having that freedom in your lifestyle is actually what that means when you're having your money directed into the things that you love. So, Elise, when it comes to fixing money, we get our hands on into people's money all the time, so we get it into pretty much all aspects of finances. What have you seen? What's important to you about this?
So it's important that I think the client understands what we're doing and that they actually have a situation going on that they need fixed.
What does fixing mean? Like what
does fixing mean?
What would you define that as?
I guess straightening things out to get them a little more organized and running smoother. That's kind of how I would define it as, at least when it comes to their finances, because I think a lot of our clients come to us in situations where
broken. I guess if you got to fix something, that means it's broken, right?
It's true.
If I'm going to fix my, if I'm going to call the plumber and have him come fix my pipes, that probably means I have a broken pipe, or it's clogged, or it's going to break, or something's going to happen, but it ain't working right, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. It's not operating as smoothly as it should. Your pipe might not be fully broken, but your water is backing up a little bit. and you don't like that. I don't like being in the shower and there's like a puddle on my feet, so I'm going to call the plumber.
So gross.
It happens. I'm sorry, especially being a girl in hair,
Yeah, I get it.
Time. But, you're not normally going to wait till your bathtub or, whatever is like completely flooded until you realize that you need to call the plumber. And I think that's the problem with people don't look at money the same way. They wait until their bathtub's overflowing completely before they're like, oh, I probably need to get a plumber to fix it, and that's how it is with money. Like it's that severe. I feel like when people think they realize it's a problem, but it's really only when the water's backing up a little bit.
So why do you care if people's money is fixed? Because I have to ask myself that question all the time. Like, why do I care about this? We spend so much time, and I've pretty much dedicated my whole life since I was probably 13 years old in fixing money in some degree or another. And I just have to keep asking myself, like, why do I care so much about this? And I'm just going to ask you that. Well, why do you care if people's money is fixed or not?
Well, there are clients, first of all, and I like helping people, and I can't really help them if everything's a disaster.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. And then I care, especially when you work this closely with people, you see their money, you see where they're spending every penny. So you really get to know the person. So I get a lot of I don't know what the word is exactly, but I really love all of our clients, and I don't like to see them not doing well. And I think that's why I care.
Yeah, I think that when it comes down to it, we know that messed up money creates broken dreams. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's like we can't flourish as a person if we have these dreams that are dying, or we're putting them off till the future at some point, or we're just wishing about them or wanting them or waiting for them to magically show up. And it really does say, if you can't fix your money so that it actually funds your dreams, then you're going to stay stuck in that hopeless place, So to me, I do really care for that reason, because so many times money is the number one reason why people don't achieve their dreams, and it's BS. It is wrong. It's a wrong excuse for not being able to actually live a fulfilling life you love. And so that actually is what starts to happen when you start to clean up your finances. You start to uncover these real heartfelt truths that are underneath it. At first, when people come in with money chaos, and I know we're dealing with it hands-on, sleeves rolled up in money chaos so much, but they come in with money chaos, and once we start straightening it up, we start to see what's really going on.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not what they think. Clients are like, oh, my income, I need to get my income up, but when we really start to clean up their books, it's because they're spending way too much on unnecessary things. And yeah, sure, it never hurts to improve your income, but let's clean up the unnecessary stuff you're spending your money on, and you actually have a nice profit margin. Yeah,
it's so true that when money's a mess and it's not fixed up, it starts in the business because that's where the income comes into, and then it goes to the family after that, right? And so it's always confused and mixed up and entangled, and so it's hard to tell. Well, how much does it cost to run the business, and how much does it cost to run the life?
Yep.
And once you start sorting that, then you see the real truth. Like, oh my God, what are we spending in our business? Or, oh, we're not making enough money in our business. Why? Oh, well, we're over here going on vacation all the time. We're not putting the right attention in our business. But when it's all tangled up, then you start easily coming up with reasons for that. Well, that was a business trip we took, or, well, it's because it was raining on Tuesday that we didn't make enough sales, or whatever that is that doesn't allow us to actually see the truth about what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that you nailed it. A lot of people, because they're so focused on trying to get write-offs. Just think that running everything through the business is the way to go, just to save a few bucks on your tax returns. But what it's really doing is creating more of a mess. So you actually now can't see, one, you can't see what it costs to run your business. And two, you actually can't even see what it costs to run your day-to-day life either, because it's so messed up. And I probably guarantee you're overspending on both when you actually start to sort it out. You're probably way overspending on your personal stuff when you probably don't need to be, and you're probably way overspending on your business as well, but it's so clouded that you can't actually see anything. You don't have any optics.
It's so true. It reminds me of, when we're working with couples and we the ultimate goal, and when you're working with a couple, is to get their individual goals and their shared goals defined, named, and then get the money directed into those things. And at first, what is usually happening is couples are fighting about money, right? Or crying about it, or blaming each other and making the other person wrong, and it's all their fault. And if they would stop doing this, then I'd be okay. It's some of that dynamic. And just not being able to actually have conversations that are meaningful or helpful in money. And especially if the business is a couple business. And so you've got this going on in the business finances, and then you got it going on in the personal. And truthfully, usually what happens is by the time they get to their personal finance, they don't want to talk to each other anymore. They don't want to talk about money anymore, right?
Well, I think that's also hard. Part of the fixing money issues is getting a point person of who's actually in charge of the money. Because, as you mentioned with the couples fighting, the spouse type of business owner, when you don't have that point person who's in charge of both business and personal, is when you get into trouble. And so if you have one person doing one thing, another person doing another thing, you don't have like an overseer of the finances, that's when they start to argue, I think. And that's when I've noticed the most arguing with couples.
And it even leads up to that because they're not communicating as to agreeing who's doing which role. There's actually, I think we've named out about 15 different roles that need to happen just to manage finances. Now, we usually all wear those 15 hats, but it's so easy if you don't agree who's doing what to then turn around and blame it on the other person because it didn't get done, because then there's no agreement. So if there's no agreement, then there's no responsibility. And so it's starting with being able to define that. So we get it defined out in the business. Okay, one person's going to do the invoicing, one person's going to do the deposits, or the one person's going to do all of it. But who's going to actually prepare the reports and look at the numbers? And I think that's where it just becomes a pure, not know-how, the skill level. Because we find that in almost every business, expecting a bookkeeper to be their CFO, but the know-how is not there. But once we get it cleaned up in the business, and then the next question is, well, how much does this business need to make in order to fund your true meaningful life goals? And that's where the conversation just dead stops for most people, because they have no idea how to answer that question.
I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago when we first started working together, that was one of the questions you asked me, and I froze. What are your goals? Yeah. I'm like, and the only reason, I'm not proud of that, but I didn't know. And I think that, especially working with a lot of our clients, they don't either. And I think that's the first thing for a lot of people is, what are your goals? And if you're single or if you have a significant other, then what are your combined goals? Because you can have individual goals, but if you're a business owner, you also need to have those group goals that are shared that you both agree on. But if you can't name them, then I think that's the whole issue.
It's so true. And it's why I've always followed this lifestyle freedom as the guiding way of setting goals and rules for myself. Because, for many years, I would just work toward trying to hit that $1 million mark and trying to hit that $1 million mark. And all the clients, they'd come in well, I'll retire when I hit $1 million, I'll retire when I hit $1 million. And I finally was like, does that really matter? Can't we live our life with what we have? Can't we live a great life, an extraordinary life, no matter where we are on the income spectrum? But our society is no, you've got to be able to buy that fancy car and that fancy house. You got to have that 6-7 figure, IRA or 401k account in order to retire. And it really, to me, it comes down to what is financial freedom. It is lifestyle freedom. It's the ability to live your life without the worry about money, which is what everybody says financial freedom is, right? I want to have the money to do whatever I want without worry. But you can do that without. Yeah, exactly. well, here's an example. Okay, so, what's happening for me right now? I have 2 houses again. I love having multiple houses. I think it's, gives me the lifestyle freedom to live in the city, live in the country, be around family and do my own thing, kind of back and forth with that. And, a few years ago, I owned all my houses that I, back and forth between houses I owned. Then I sold them all. Now I'm renting and I love it, right? I got the maintenance button, boop, and I get to have those 2 houses. But here's why. because I know that this situation is going to change again. And I moved, closer to my family so I could help my parents. Unfortunately, I got there and my father passed away like the week I was moving. And that was kind of a shock to us because we were actually preparing for my mom to pass away sooner. And so all of a sudden my mom's left in the country by herself without her husband. And that changed the whole dynamic. But what's really great about having the lifestyle freedom that I have and just knowing how to move money through me and through to where I want it to go, we were able to just last weekend, actually, buy another house for my mom, get her moved. It'll be a 2-week escrow, get her into the house, and then get her house ready to sell and sell her house so that she can then have the freedom of being able to live and just take care of her body and, her daily activities without the burden of this house she's lived in for 35 years. And to me, that's a real freedom because I can be detached from the things I have in life. I can give them away. I can sell them. I can donate them, give them my inheritance to my kids early while they're living. That's what I did 2 years ago. And then now being able to completely help mom because I have lifestyle freedom. I'm not attached to all these things that I can move money through me like this and put it where I want it to go to fund those goals. Putting the money into places that I really, really care about. Anyway, that's a long story, but it just comes back to if you don't know what you care about, what you want money for, how do you know if your money's even broken?
Yeah, I think that's a really good story, though, to just share with everyone. It actually reminded me of another story from a client that we had. This client came to us with money chaos. They were using basically their business as like a personal debit card also. So it was just money was everywhere. It took months to kind of sort everything out and get things cleaned up. This client also, I don't remember the number to be honest, but they probably in like 200,000 debt, maybe 3, I don't know. It was up there. And, I created this plan, worked through getting all this debt paid off quite a bit. And then I don't know what I did. I think I logged on to pay another credit card or something. And I noticed that there was another like 10 grand just charged back up on the card.
Maxed back out again.
Yeah, it was maxed back out again. And I'm just
but I remember that. And you did a lot more than that even.
Yeah.
Because just the fact of sorting through and figuring out all the different loans and cards and rates and put together a whole like repayment plan, which will pay these off first and pay those off second, etc. And for the first time ever, they were able to actually see the truth about what was going on in their business and their personal finances. And that combined, the debt was something more like $500,000, but it was buried and hidden and mixed in
there
and
were loans
not knowing.
not included on their books for some reason.
Right. Right. Yeah. So then what happened?
Oh.
So then you said that they logged in and then the credit cards were maxed out again.
Yeah, a few of them.
Right.
Like it was a span of a few months, but yeah. There would be times where the credit card's maxed out, and then I'm like, hey, like we kind of created a policy that you agreed on that once the card was paid off, you weren't gonna use it again, so we can continue to get the rest of it. Oh yeah, well, blah 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 blah. Blah. I needed to, and this came up, blah blah blah. And it wasn't even like an issue like. I had to go to the hospital because I needed a surgery and I couldn't afford it. It was something that could be without. I'll just say that. So,
right. And how did you feel?
Oh God, I felt so defeated. Like I felt like it was, 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. Like I feel like I had made so much progress with this client because when they came to us, that's what they said their goals were. They were really focused on getting their debt paid off and handled. So I felt so great that I was able to get, X done. And then it just in a matter of days, like just.
And that happened twice, if I recall.
Happened a few times.
Twice, like within a span, like it happened once, you fixed it, and then it happened again.
Yep.
But I think what it really sounds like is you were trying to carry the torch.
I feel like I cared more than the client did.
More responsibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it was so discouraging that the first time I'm like, okay, fine, I get it, whatever, we'll fix it, let's move on. Second time, it just kind of felt like a punch in the gut,
Yeah.
It was so discouraging. And I just sat back and I'm like, why am I caring about my client's goals more than the client? And that really started to mess with my head, you know? Yeah. I'm like, this is not right. Like, what am I doing?
We can't care that much, but we do.
You would think it was my own money that I was so upset about. And like, I was actually upset. Yeah.
Well,
so
I get it. We care about getting those goals met. If you come in and you say you want A, B, C, D, now we learned our lesson. We've learned actually quite a few lessons over the last few years about this. Is first off, we weren't doing enough due diligence to check the real value of the goals that clients tell us they want to achieve. And I know I've made that mistake in my past, because I didn't know what I wanted. I took whatever they told me a good goal was. Yeah, I want to, save for my kids' college or whatever. And now we learn we got to ask now. Yeah. We've got to make sure we're in agreement and that we're working together as a team. Mm-hmm. And the clients have a role in their finances on the financial team, and we have a role. And, we need to get that vision from the client. We need to help restructure toward that vision. But if they don't wear their hat as the visionary and taking the time to sit down with their spouse and figure out what's really, really, really important to them in life, then how are we going to know what to do to help them fix their finances,
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Awesome. Well, very well done. I love that story, Elise. You're such a master at it. It's so fun to watch you move finances around to get it restructured like that. And it's always rewarding to us and to the client and to the whole team when we have these success stories. And, so thanks for all your hard work on that. It's just really fun to participate in it with you.
Thank you. I mean, I love doing it. And especially when I can see the results. So I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And we want you to do it too. We want our listeners to be able to do this for themselves as well too. Obviously, we cannot have 8 billion people in the world? Billion. We cannot do that ourselves. We need everybody to do it for themselves in order for us to actually create this prosperity nation that we desire. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear, what do you need to fix in your money, and what have you struggled with, and what are you successful in? We want to know. We want to share your stories. We want to hear your successes. So share your stories with us.
Yeah, share those stories at stories@prosperitynation.com. You can also follow us on social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe our videos.
Awesome. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. Follow us on social media for the latest episodes, updates, and more. Like and subscribe to videos from us on YouTube, and find out more at prosperitynation.com. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on the Prosperity Nation podcast.